So to get started kind of broadly, what was it like having to inhabit the world of the TVA and start to wrap your head around the rules?
Yeah, it was a lot. It was, a whole new aspect of the MCU. I think when I first spoke to Kate Herron and she was talking about the Time Variance Authority and the Timekeepers and, all of these different aspects of the sacred timeline, it was kind of mind blowing as a concept. But then once I read the scripts and saw some of the concept art and saw, visually what it was all going to look like, it was a bit easier to get my head around. And then we did some rehearsals and worked on the scripts, and once you kind of are with the other actors and start sort of grounding your characters in the relationships, then actually all of that other stuff sort of starts to fit into place.
We're not here to talk about the Avengers.
Oh, no?
No. What they did was supposed to happen. You escaping was not.
Right. Not supposed to happen. According to whom?
The Timekeepers.
How much of that has taken hold in like your brain space? And like, if you were quizzed right now, do you think you'd hold on to some of that stuff?
I don't know. I mean, as far as it is in terms of Renslayer's world, for sure. I don't know how much I've retained, but I think that's the cool thing about the show is, we sort of, she has a very strong sort of ideology, almost indoctrinated with this ideology of the Timekeepers, and it's very sort of black and white, order and maintaining the timeline. And so it's really only as time goes on and the chaos that Loki brings that Renslayer's reality slightly starts to crumble a bit.
Well, because you mentioned it, Ravonna Renslayer is a character that has existed in comics lore before Loki. And I'm wondering if like they gave you like her history in the comics to sort of bone up as sort of reference, or if you just went in with like your own take on the character based on the writing and on Kate's direction.
Well, actually, I was somewhat discouraged from going too deep into the comics for research, because where we start in this aspect of Renslayer's story is sort of her origin story. So this sort of predates the comics in a way, so that was gave me a bit of freedom to be creative and build this world around the TVA for her. And then obviously, as we know from the comics, there's many other places that she can go, and there's lots of potential there.
Yeah, I don't want to get you in trouble, but are you excited at the potential of working with Jonathan Majors in King the Conqueror?
I mean, who knows what's going to happen? Who knows? I don't know. I mean, he's a fantastic actor. It would be a joy, I'm sure, to work with him, but I don't know what the future holds.
You mentioned it a little bit, but just backtracking a bit, how familiar were you with the MCU at large prior to Loki? And if so, like, what was your entry point in the overall cinematic universe?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously was aware of the movies. I think they've had such a huge influence on popular culture over the last 10 years. They've sort of been hard to miss. But I have to say, I wasn't the biggest Marvel fan. I was aware of the films, but I hadn't seen every single one. And I couldn't tell you, everything as much as I know there are huge fans out there that really, know every intricate detail of the MCU. So for me, it was sort of a case of, starting at the beginning and rewatching the movies I had seen and catching up on the movies that I hadn't. So that was, a fun form of research for me.
How do you plead?
Madam, a god doesn't plead. Look, this has been a very enjoyable pantomime, but I'd like to go home now.
Are you guilty or not guilty, sir?
Guilty of being the god of mischief? Yes. Guilty of finding all this incredibly tedious? Yes. Guilty of a crime against the sacred timeline? Absolutely not. You have the wrong person.
Oh, really? And who should we have?
In terms of the show itself, obviously, I've only seen 2 episodes, and it definitely seems like Ravonna Renslayer is someone who is maybe keeping her cards pretty close to her vest early on. But in playing these scenes opposite Owen or Tom, what is it? What are those scenes like in terms of the sort of like the really quippy, witty dialogue back and forth?
Oh, it's so much fun. I mean, both actors, you know, I mean, there's such different styles. Obviously, you know, Tom being so mischievous in his role, and I think, you know, Renslayer being sort of, you know, so much a woman of order and the rules, you know, obviously that sets up a fascinating dynamic because it's sort of order versus chaos, you know, and that's always going to provide some interesting tension and you know, fun stuff to play with. And then with Owen's character Mobius, that's also, you know, a different dynamic because they are really old friends, and so there's a familiarity there. But also, you know, I think Renslayer is also really aware of her status and the fact that she ultimately has the final say. So, you know, she has a fondness for Mobius, but she also kind of has to play by the rules as well. So that's a fun dynamic as well.
And this is all based on a theory from the variant who just blew your previous mission.
Yeah, he's doing great.
Mobius, as your friend, I have to tell you that trusting this man is not a good idea.
No, I know, but maybe he's worth the trouble. I mean, he just uncovered a massive hole in our security, right?
That's what concerns me.
Well, here's a question I've been asking everyone because of the time travel aspects of Loki. If you were able to go back in time and go to any sort of film premiere across history, or go back and like watch an episode of television, like the night or the day that it aired, is there one that you would go back for, like something top of mind that you would want to go back for?
Oh my God. An element, a TV show
or a film premiere. It doesn't have to be a TV show, just a TV show that aired that you wanted to see, or
I suppose it would be kind of, you know, fun to go back to see like the moon landing or something, you know, on TV back in the day, you know, when TV was such a new experience, and, you know, the idea of people sort of gathering around for such a historic event. I think that would be intriguing.